I would like to say that I never thought of the Stiega Larssona title, but of course it was kind of taking the piss a bit out of Men Who Hate Women, the Stiega Larssona title. And also the reason is the people in Norway who don't want wolves, because in Norway we have what we call a wolf war, which is a lot of people who live out in the areas where we have wolves. They really hate wolves. They don't want wolves. While the people who live in the big cities, they want wolves, basically. And the two sides are very heated. And they crash, and it's the closest we come to a civil war in Norway. And it's been lifted from a very local thing up to a important, very important political issue. Yeah, because for me, I thought it was a great backdrop for a novel, because the two sides are so extreme. The people who don't want the wolves, they really hate the wolf. And that's another reason behind the title, why I called the book The Men Who Hate Wolves, because they would say, no, we don't hate wolves, we just don't want them. But really, quite an amazing number of people hate wolves. And that's because the wolf has become a symbol of everything that's wrong in rural Norway. With jobs disappearing, agriculture is difficult, same thing probably in Poland and everywhere. People move from the countryside to the big cities, and they need someone to blame, and they blame the wolf, even though we have 50 wolves. We have almost no wolves, between 50 and 80 wolves. And the problem is that we have a border with Sweden, long border, and in Sweden you have many more wolves. So it doesn't really matter what we do in Norway. If we kill all the wolves in Norway, we still have wolves coming over the border. So for the wolf haters, as I call them, it's a struggle and a war they can never win. And for the wolf lovers, or the wolf huggers, as the haters call them, they can also never win, because the government has said, no, we're going to have 3 family groups, 4 family groups. They've decided on such a low number that the wolf is always going to be an extinct or a species which is close to extinction in Norway, as the politics go. Some cases, yeah, yes, maybe. But it's mainly the biggest issue for me for using this as a backdrop for my story, because the novel is basically, at the end of the day, a novel is about people, about greed, about how people try to manipulate and make their lives as good as possible. But I think I just thought of the wolf conflict as a very cool background for a novel, because people are so ruthless and so egotistical in their way of thinking, and the two sides are so very opposed. And when you really feel something that hard, you're capable of doing quite bad shit. Yeah, and that's the way I like to, I think very important in my writing is to set up relationships between people. And like in this book, you have Leo and his daughter, you have Leo and Rhino, who is an ex-torpedo who has gone crazy as an environmentalist. And you have the relationship between the wolf scientist and the assistant, and you have between the old wolf scientist. So for me, relationship between people is what fuels the stories and fuels the books and make people take the choices they make the choices they make. I'd never never read any Scandinavian author who really wrote that way. A couple of Americans do, a guy called Carl Hyacin, if you heard of him. He's half Norwegian, by the way, or quarter Norwegian. He has this anger about what humans do to nature, always lying underneath, but he's also funny. So what I try to do is have a very, for me, important issue, which is something about the environment. It's about building, it's about destroying bird habitat, it's about killing of the wolves, it's about Norwegian salmon farming, which is book number 2. Have that as a background, and then instead of being like angry and bitter and try to make fun of it and try to expose it in a funny way.